Hello, everybody. Welcome back to This Needs to Be Said with Mr. TNTBS. I am your host, CJ Jones, and this is Elephant Exposed once again. Before I get started with today's reaction, and it's going to come from a very familiar platform that I have been recently been watching and everything because they seem to stay on topic when it comes to the coverage of R. Kelly, his appeal cases, and so forth. And Attorney Bonjean, she's a very small woman. She knows exactly how to attack each and every angle, each and every charge. And things like this takes time. So I want to say that to my subscribers and even for someone that's probably watching my channel for the very first time. Um, Not everything can turn over real fast, especially when you are being accused of a lot of charges and in different states and so forth. And therefore, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of focus, and knowing exactly what to appeal. Um, Sometimes you can't go for the larger stuff when you have to go for the smaller, easier things because that's how they built the case against you. Whoever the prosecutor is, whether it's by state or whatever. So let's keep that in mind. So this is why you will see me react to specific cases or specific updates because not each and every update is necessary. It is necessary to cover it all, but I want to stay with facts over feelings. And so this, I only looked at the title and I figure, oh, okay, this is one of those legs to where when they hit Mr. R. Kelly with the platform of the Mann Act. And so in order for you to be charged with the Mann Act, um, there has to be certain foundations there first. And so as a part of one of those legs, uh, they're gonna touch on it, or well, I'm gonna assume that they're gonna be touching on it, is the forced labor. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. Okay.
You are welcome to yet another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. We cannot deny there was plenty drama at the New York appeal hearing as the state attorney fidgeted with words explaining the decisions of the trial judge Ann Donnelly at the Brooklyn federal court together with her jury of 12. This is the team that did a good job prejudicing R. Kelly during the trial phase and causing him the misery he clearly doesn't deserve. It's on book that many of these selected jurors were loyal followers and consumers of the toxic Surviving R. Kelly docuseries, which was purposely produced to sell the narrative that Kelly was a very bad person and a danger to society, which is not necessarily true. Many people around the world who have been following the story closely now know that R. Kelly was in fact not proven guilty for most of the charges levied against him, and that is to say in particular, the RICO, Mann Act and forced labor charges which his attorney Jennifer Bonjean is gladly battling in the appeal court. Asked to respond to Bonjean's submission, which was so informative and revealing of the fact that R. Kelly was overcharged, the state attorney began by driving straight into yet another defamation and smear campaign that was not so welcomed by the appeal judges, who were quick to intercept it with real questions. It sounded as though the appeal judge was saying, "Wait, these are the issues you ought to address. and we are speaking of whether there was in fact sufficient evidence to charge the R&B king with RICO or not. The judges also wanted to know whether the Mann Act charges were appropriate, considering there is no evidence that the women allegedly exposed to an STD did not have prior consent from defendant. And also important to one of the judges was the issue of undeserved restitutions, which should not have applied, considering the public health laws in the state that was charged were repealed and are no longer in operation.
Okay, so just within the 2 minutes of playing this video, we can already see that before I even played this, how you have already, this narrator is already talking about the very thing that I was, and that was how even the presentation of R. Kelly's case, how it was tried before the public, before it even went to the judicial system. And that's quite often the case. And especially when it comes to Black men of color, especially in our community and in the Black community, when you have people like R. Kelly that has done something great throughout the years, and they are reached the peak of their careers, and then here come the tidal wave of scandal and lambasting of someone's character and different things like that, the defamation of the character. And if you go back just a little bit, you can just use Google to check this out for yourself. Look and see the pattern of anybody that was prominent and being very successful, and then it's almost bragged about. Matter of fact, when you Google it, you can put in something like the rise and fall of whoever, and you'll see it for yourself. And when it's all over and said and done with, like I've said in previous videos before, even when the smoke clears and all this stuff has gone through the processes and everything, and I really do feel like Mr. R. Kelly is going to be acquitted of everything because of even how he was brought into the courts. And just like how, very similar how they did Mr. Bill Cosby. Accusations does not automatically make you guilty. And a guilty verdict doesn't mean that you actually did it. You have to look at evidence. And regardless as to how you feel about these individuals, ask yourself, how did I get to feel this way? Why do I feel this way about this person? Is it because of something that I know that they did? Old country folk be like, I feel it. I see it. Yeah, they look like the type. Or is it that you know it because you were told? Or because it was something that was presented over and over and over? I call it the Trump style. They'll just keep repeating a lie, a lie, a lie. Then after a while, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that sounds right. Or did you actually do research? And did you actually take the time to see, okay, out of all these fluffy words, did this actually happen? And can it be proven? Because that is what the justice system is for. But let's continue.
The highlight of the day, however, was when the appeal judge who demanded that the state attorney explain how the forced labor charges ended up on the indictment asked tough questions that saw the state attorney reveal what was supposed to remain a secret between the government and the trial judge.
Mm.
The appeal judges realized that the state attorney was always beating around the bush and not really explaining how these charges came about, and how the guilty verdicts followed. Instead of explaining the charges and backing them up with evidence, she was busy mudslinging and mentioning how R. Kelly did this and R. Kelly did that. Listening to what she had to say, it was possible to mistake her for another accuser responding to questions in a cross-examination during trial. It is at that level that accusers usually do their best to tarnish the defendant and throw as much dirt as they possibly can without reason for the jurors to sort out what makes sense and what doesn't. For a state attorney,
And that is a very common tactic. If you watched any shows or any of those things, you don't even have to be a guru of court proceedings or nothing or anything like that. Just watch a couple of Law and Orders and so forth, and you'll get what I'm saying. That by what I mean by that is a lot of times when an attorney does not a prosecutor does not have a lot of evidence, what they will do is that they'll start to attack the character of that individual. They still have to have something to bounce off of. So like say for instance, like if um I'll use something the attitude of Mike Tyson. Back in the day, that was like a really big thing that lawyers was going after because he was this aggressive boxer, blah blah blah, whatever. Well, they would attack his character by trying to give examples of how enraged he was and how he came up on the streets. And any other twist of that, your heart will actually have empathy and sympathy for someone that came up as hard as Mike Tyson. Well, when you're on the flip side, they'll take that same story and flip it and try to use your very character, the way you grew up or whatever they could find, and start attacking it. So in R. Kelly's case, this was no different. When they came to this Mann Act, they know they didn't have a lot. They didn't have nothing outside of just talk and nothing, as we can hear the narrator say, it's not even proven. They just threw it in there. And kind of it's very similar to what dirty cops do whenever they go to arrest the unfamiliar when it comes to drivers and everything. Like they'll just throw just a extra charge in there or something just to make something sound worse than what it is, to try to get you to stay overnight, over the weekend or whatever. But these are very common tactics that are practiced each and every day. Let's continue.
attorney to try and do this at appeal level, it's so absurd.
I'm gonna bump it back just a
Bongene's
little
argument
bit.
against the forced labor, sort out what makes sense and what doesn't. For a state attorney to try and do this at appeal level, it's so absurd. Bongene's argument against the forced labor charges dwells on the fact that one cannot claim forced labor based on one-time events. Forced labor is indeed a pattern of events and not something that can be derived out of a one-time experience, even if it involves someone forcing another person to do something. Rape, for example, is rape and not necessarily forced labor. But when you look at the claims of forced labor for Geronda, for example, the government was typically describing a one-time event where R. Kelly allegedly got angry with her because he felt disrespected, and she claims he then forced her to perform oral sex on him. Whether this happened because R. Kelly was angry with her or not, it still remains a one-time event that cannot justify the forced labor charges, and these, according to his attorney, should be dismissed without prejudice. And when it comes to the same charges in relation to Faith Rogers, who even during trial was open enough to remind the court that she is not a victim of R. Kelly but gladly made her choices as an adult woman. The government alleges that a woman who had been in an intimate relationship with R. Kelly, enjoying casual sex with him frequently in different parts of the country, quickly became a victim of forced labor, because one afternoon when she had come to him for the usual, she found a gun lying on the table which allegedly unnerved her. Finding a gun on the table this one time does not quickly erase the fact that she had come to engage in the usual activity they both enjoyed, and the gun's presence being a one-time event does not qualify this as forced labor. Besides, record has it that even after this allegedly unnerving experience, Faith Rogers continued to see R. Kelly.
So, are we listening to this narrator? He is really breaking this thing down in very basic, everyday terms that we can all understand. Just because something happened one time does not give the Mann Act charges legs. Just like the RICO case, okay? The Mann Act, there has to be a pattern, a, a repeat, if you will, of these behaviors, of these actions that's going on. If it's not a pattern, if it doesn't repeat itself, you do not have grounds to attach these charges.
When asked to explain the forced labor charges, however, the state attorney meandered a lot, and this caused the appeal judges to demand that she proves these charges, asking where is the forced labor because they clearly didn't see it. Grilled and out of options, like a drowning man would catch on a straw, the state attorney sought refuge in reminding the court how R. Kelly allegedly made his girlfriends to write false letters and to work on websites, all claims the government can't even prove. At this point the government had conceded defeat, and surely, the forced labor charges are bound to be dropped. It's only a matter of time, and once the judges have deliberated, many believe that the first charges to be dismissed without questions will be those related to the alleged forced labor.
As they should.
According to Peter Keene, I did listen to the entire New York appeal audio, and in fact when the appeal judge asked where's the labor, he sounded frustrated, trying to imagine things that clearly didn't exist. The state attorney's strategy of beating around the bush instead of explaining the trial verdict was not working, and it was instead beginning to annoy the entire panel. The government ought to know that the justice system is airtight, and whatever is illegally or carelessly passed at trial level can be sived out at appeal level. In fact, the appeal judges also ought to be as accurate and keen as possible, because if they ignore the RICO appeal demands by Bonjean, like she said, the Supreme Court will listen. While it's already weird that our Constitution has chosen to officially look at sex as a job, technically encouraging prostitution among our youngsters, government's attempts to twist the labor law and assume forced labor from one-time sexual encounters is a misinterpretation of the statute. According to Saloise, I have been saying this for years now. It's always people of color that get hit with such BS concocted charges. The others may be equally prosecuted, but they never get hit by such twisted charges as these people of color have had to deal with. The justice and government systems are corrupt and very crooked, especially when it comes to dealing with people of color. Just when will the system and these minions start to be held accountable for these wrongdoings? If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us at
So, what we have got going on, guys. So what we have got going on is that we have yet another, I say it's an attention, an attention seeking charge. What do I mean by that? Well, we have a celebrity. Okay, what type of celebrity? A very popular celebrity, a world-renowned celebrity. He happens to be Black. He's going, Grace, I'm so sorry. I'm starting to dry out. He happens to be a sex symbol. He happens to do, women is his thing. Okay. I mean, and that's what hip hop and R&B artists. I I I just stay with what I know. That's what they're known for. That's what they do. And women, that is they appeal to their base. Their base is women. So how to stop that money from flowing is that you start to accuse and twist and do sensational accusations of the very thing that makes this man's money. Hence the reason why you had the Me Too movement, the Mute R. Kelly, all these things. They had to start hitting the base first. Then they came out with the Surviving R. Kelly. All these things. They had to hit the base first to set you up because see, if he just would have went straight into the courts and then just handling everything at his level, all all of these charges, in my opinion, from what I'm able to see so far, according to these appeals, none of these things would have stood up, had legs, anything. All of these things would have been not even heard because, but due to the fact of media being media, you know, big platform media, they thrive off of sensationalism. What do I mean by that? Anything that sounds good, interesting, dramatic. This is what draws the viewers. This is what draws people. Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Because good is boring. It doesn't draw clicks. Good is just good, you know, everyday run of the mill type things. But if we say something that has drama, or as other media platforms call it, tea, then all ears and all eyes are on that situation. And everybody has an opinion. But here's the thing with Elephant Exposed. We look beyond the opinions. We respect the opinions, we get the opinions. We have them as well. But when we're talking about court, when we're talking about law, now you have to put your feelings aside and start to look at fact. You are no longer taking this thing personal. But if you had a blindfold on and you was just listening to a situation, would you have the same conclusion? Are you really listening to all the evidence, what everybody is saying? And is everybody saying credible? See, that's in a court of law. Because everybody that even comes as a witness or however, these witnesses have to be or should be taken as credible witnesses. This is why witnesses are cross-examined and then recrossed and so forth. Because the courts need to know, is this person talking just to be talking? Are they bear false witnessing? Are they paid to come here? All these things are taken under consideration. So I hope that this particular reaction was beneficial for the viewers. And before I get out of here, I want to thank all of the new subscribers that have joined the Elephant Exposed family. Thank you so much for your support. I really, really appreciate it. And I just want to say that I will try to keep these reactions coming to you guys. Just let me know in the comments and I will continue to do so. With that being said, Remember, guys, Elephant Exposed here is facts over feelings. And with that being said, I'll catch you next time. Y'all be good.